Welcome to a new episode.
of the Unstoppable Force podcast.
I'm Rob,
And I'm Guy.
and this episode we're going to talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Yep. The new Call of Duty game. Up in the air.
Yeah, well, the beta was out,
Mm-hmm.
and they had one free weekend, I think.
Yep. I played the free weekend. You didn't, though. You didn't have
No,
a chance to. I think
no,
you were busy that weekend.
probably. I've been busy lately.
Hmm. Now, the thing about Modern Warfare is I think that everyone has like sort of this not so sure feeling where they both like the game
Mm,
and then are also like terrified of Activision at the same
yeah,
time.
like from like a gameplay standpoint and
Hmm.
like the whole beta standpoint, it was very positive
Yeah.
and kind of reminded us of like kind of going back to actually Modern Warfare and that whole like kind of more quick uh, ish play style. I think like it
Well,
was,
I think it's like there's the good old buzzword boots on the
oh
ground,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. We have now we're not flying around in jetpacks and running
Yeah.
on walls.
But like last time they decided, oh, we're gonna go back to boots on the ground. They did the
World War,
World War II,
yeah,
and I don't remember anybody really liking that game. I think
I
they
actually,
kind of just like
yeah, I
they're
think it
like,
was just
okay, we're just
yeah, it
gonna
was just
forget that one even happened.
like it was just there. It wasn't necessarily bad. It just wasn't really a fit. I think it was like
Yeah, and they
it,
tried boots on the ground, but for some reason, when they went back that time, it didn't feel
mhm.
right.
I think because with the weapons and like the even that type of warfare, it kind of honestly kind of fits into like Black Ops. It was kind of slower, kind of like the movement was quicker, but like it took a while to kill somebody in those games. And like
Mhm.
that's what the type of firearms like when you think of older war, you're like, oh, this gun had to take longer to kill somebody for
Like
some
World
reason.
at War still always felt very good, but I think World
Yeah,
at War was very much designed differently than a
yeah,
lot of other Call of Duty games because game was known for having a lot of very open maps.
yeah, yeah.
There was not really lanes. They were much more open.
And then they would like go like have underground areas that you can
Mhm.
go in, but yeah, up on top it was just like way open.
I actually think that this is part of the reason why it works again in Modern Warfare. The new Modern Warfare is in some ways similar to the reason why it worked a little bit more in I think like World at
Mm,
War.
mm,
Um, and part of it is that the maps in the new Modern Warfare there's a lot more verticality to them. You can climb on more things. You can also there's like climbing entrances to building.
mm.
Sorry, yeah, I'm sorry, crawling
Crawling,
entrances
yeah,
to buildings, crouch entrances. There's usually so many entrances to a single building that it actually like you'd think camping would be a problem, and especially with a lot of the new game modes like
yeah,
ground war.
yeah.
But I found there to not actually be too
Okay,
significant of a camping problem, and I think a
okay.
part of that was because of how many different entrances you have to watch essentially if you're camping.
Okay, so like the game both incentivizes and de-incentivizes camping basically because
Mhm.
of like how quick it is to kill somebody now.
Yeah, time to kill's down.
Right, time to kill got reduced, but then like if you can your back, you can't like actually watch your back unless you're in a corner, and then you got to watch like four entrances on one
Hmm.
side, then it's very difficult.
Yeah, I remember finding myself like when I'm defending points, you end up kind of just like running between areas that people might come in from.
Yeah.
You can't really like sit somewhere though.
Okay.
Like you have to sort of keep moving because then it's like even if you're camping, like part of the thing about camping, right, is if there's like one stairway to the second floor of a building,
Yeah.
then you have to come up that staircase in order to kill a person upstairs.
Yeah.
But with this game, like let's say there's a headquarters upstairs, second floor of a building,
Yeah.
and you have to defend it. You don't have to stare at one staircase.
Mm.
You actually have to defend several different entrances. So if you're camping, then somebody can come in from a different entrance and then immediately start affecting, either
Mm.
capturing a point, capturing a headquarters, or
Yeah.
something like that. And then you end up you have to run out of the room that you're camping in, and now you're not camping it, right?
Yeah.
So because of the additional entrances, it also becomes like difficult to defend positions, and therefore you can't like camp when defending positions as much.
Yeah. Okay.
There's definitely
Yeah.
still camping though, but you have to like
I mean
work as a
that
team. Like
that
people have to cover you for not assisting,
yeah.
basically, in covering zones.
Yeah. I mean camping happens like regardless. just whether or not it's made to be way beneficial in the gameplay or
Mhm.
not. That's kind of the main point.
Another thing too about camping is I think there's like two different types of camping. There's like the stand in relatively one place camping, where it's like you're just like staring down the staircase from the top
Yeah.
of the staircase, or you're
Mm.
like in the corner of a room in like a head glitch position or something.
Yeah.
And then there's like camping where it's like, you're running around a room with three doors and
Mm.
you're like constantly checking all three doors and nobody can come in and you're
Yeah.
camping the building. But like you actually have to be smart, you have to
Yeah.
have good aim, you have to know where people are coming, you have to have
Yeah.
awareness. So it's like it's camping, but
It's
it's
more like
like difficult
defending.
camping.
It's like more just like defending an area. Because if you
Mhm.
defend a point, you have to do that too. Like even if it's a little open area, you have like the wall of a building and then a truck next to you. Like they can come around either side of the truck or the other side of the building. So like it's just defending an area at that point.
Yeah, basically. So that's was a big improvement. Ground War was a little weird, I felt.
That's the 64 player 32 versus 32 game mode,
Yeah, it was
right?
kind of like I guess like Battlefield Light,
Okay.
where
Is,
like there's no
yeah. Are there any
classes and
are there objectives or is it just TD basically?
it's just yeah,
It
like
doesn't matter.
domination or
Oh,
whatever,
domination.
like
Okay. Oh,
where
it's like
you
conquest and
yeah,
Battlefield.
conquest.
Yeah.
And basically you just have to like capture the zones by
Hmm.
standing in them, and
Yeah.
you get points for how many zones you have, and you
Yeah.
have
Okay.
to try to keep
Yeah.
more than zones in the enemy.
Okay.
Um, and it's relatively simple, but and there's like there's like vehicles.
Yeah.
Um, but one thing about the maps I felt for Ground War was they're kind of boring.
Really. Was it like open, like we were talking, or like
So the actual the whole part of the design being very versatile and being able to kind of come in from so many different angles, I think it like pulled back on the creativity of the maps a little bit
okay,
because it's hard to have all these entrances and then also
create different buildings that have the same type of like, oh, we have these four different types of entrances.
right. I think it like there's a creative difficulty when it
Yeah.
comes to like, oh, we're gonna make it a hospital.
Mm.
Okay, well now we have to like come up with all the different ways. Like we can't do like a little short like
Mm.
entrance at a hospital or something, but it's
Yeah.
easier when it's like a warehouse.
Yeah.
They're,
Okay.
they're kind of picking the buildings where it makes more sense
Mm.
to have the level of verticality and
Okay.
the ability to come in from so many different angles. So like when I was playing Ground War, the main map
Mm.
was just like these just a whole bunch of like industrial
Okay.
warehouses.
I mean, I don't know. Creatively, like I can probably come up with ways to get into like a hospital. You have like a make it like a laundry room that has a little thing that you go in from underneath and have like an escape like stairs on the outside that goes into like a window on the second floor. Like I don't know. I'm just saying.
I mean, I think that like that's like a little different though. That's like a shoot where you're like teleporting using like
Not a
stuff.
shoot.
Like you're saying
I'm
like
saying
a
like no, just like have a laundry room, have like a little like doorway where you can crouch into under where like the laundry room is. Just pretend
okay,
like
yeah.
because like no actual hospital room's gonna have a little thing, but just make it some basement type area that goes into the hospital. I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
mean,
It's
I
just
think that
stupid.
they can do it, and I think that like the difference is probably that they've we haven't seen anywhere near the maps
Right.
that they're actually going to
Yeah.
be in the game. And then they probably already put quite a bit of time of work into the DLC maps
Yeah.
too.
They,
So like once you start figuring out like how many maps that they have to come up with, even if it's only increasing 20% the time it takes to make each map by
yeah.
making it like more themed.
Yeah.
It may add up. I'm not
Okay. Yeah.
100% sure. And also there might just be like cool maps that
Yeah.
are just not being shown off in the betas because
Yeah.
they're like holding back.
I mean, I figure you want one cool map to be like, oh, you
I
know.
liked the cave map.
Okay.
There's this one map that's like a desert map, and on one side it has like this big cave with several entrances in it into it, and it's like more of like a long hall with like a lot of cover as you get like closer and closer to the center where
Okay.
like the capture point usually
Yeah.
is.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed that one just because the lanes felt like really fair
Okay.
and it
It
was
sounds like an Afghan. Is it Afghan from MW2? The one with the giant plane, and then there's a cave in there.
oh, I think I remember that one.
It's not. That's something.
Is that what? I think I remember what you were talking about,
Yeah.
but I don't
It has
remember
like a
its name.
cliff. If you go around, you can like camp. You can go upside the top of the cliff, and
Hmm.
then there's a plane crash there. Then
Yeah.
there's like a cave to go in through.
It's kind of like that, but I think it's like there's like this is a weird way of describing it, but I very quickly felt like I understood the layouts of the maps in this one.
Okay. Was it
In
very three
part,
laney? Like, did
it
they
is
come back to
sort
the
of three laney,
Okay.
yeah. It's like 3 lanes with like more crossovers between the lanes in terms of like the different entrances and stuff.
Okay.
So there's like a little bit more of like a strategy to like how you enter and how you go about like your the taking of points and things like that, which is I think the goal. And then there's still like sliding and there's still all that stuff too. So there's decent mobility
Okay.
as well.
Is there like tilting? Like,
There actually is a tilt.
okay.
It is weird. So if you are on cover,
Yeah.
you can actually hit a button and it'll like attach you to
Like the
the
wall.
cover
Okay. Yeah.
and it will make you have no recoil.
What the hell?
Zero recoil, like
That's weird.
basically.
But like, you probably can't move off
No.
of it.
You have to
I don't know.
detach from it basically. So the idea is that you're
Okay.
leaning on the cover
Yeah.
and therefore you have lower
Right.
recoil.
So like, can you like lean to around a corner and attach?
It's like sort of like that, but I think it's more like it's like a permanent lean. It's more like Siege, where you like
Okay, but
enter it
that's
and you
more.
kind of like
That's
leaned.
fine. But it's not. But you're attached to the wall, and you
But
can't
you
come
are,
off the wall.
yeah. You can't like move and adjust in your lean. You can just lean,
Can you run along the wall? Or you're stuck on the wall
stuck on the wall.
in that one spot.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's more like it's kind of like a camping a door kind of thing, or like when
Yeah.
you're trying to shoot into like an
Okay.
enemy or something
Yeah.
like that. It's not meant to be like
Mhm.
tactical.
I feel like it'd be for when you're waiting, because if you can't move, you can't walk across like along the wall, and then you can't walk into a place. Because if you like walk in, there's an enemy, and then you go up against the wall, then you're just like sitting duck unless you like detach.
I'd have to like test it again. I don't
Okay.
remember how much it exposed, and I don't remember
Mm.
like how much you can adjust because I never really used it. I
Yeah.
used it like a couple
Sounds like it's
times.
not that good. Well,
No,
I feel like a lot of people would use it.
there's like a few people that use it, and I think the idea behind it, I don't mind just because it's another element of like when should
Sure.
I or should I not use this to my advantage.
Yeah.
So it just kind of gives people like players an
Fine.
option to
Yeah, it
like
doesn't like really affect the entire gameplay, like
right.
the way like you shoot normally.
And
Yeah.
another thing too, this game, snipers are not as OP as they've been in previous games.
How? Well, what? One shot doesn't kill you?
Well there's like one gun that's like the Winchester that's like a one-shot sniper, which is kind of strong.
Okay.
But I think that they're like a bit slower, they're a bit clunkier.
Okay.
They require more
Like
skill probably, I
okay.
think is a good way of putting it.
Like
Uh
finesse.
and ARs and SMGs are like
Up to you.
the top tier, yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Imagine you put on like, I don't know if they have a vector in there, but put like extended mags, rapid fire type of
Mhm.
shit.
Yeah, it's
There
all
you go.
still in
Have a
there.
good day.
And then also they heavily simplified the perk system
Okay.
and attachment system and
Yeah,
sort of standardized it.
okay. I heard it was like I saw it was like a gunsmith where like you can kind of like customize the gun type of way. But and
Yeah.
there's like over like 30 something attachments for like some guns, but you can only put 5 on at a
Yeah,
time.
so it's like total of 5 and it's like it's a cool system.
Okay.
I've enjoyed it like leveling up the guns
Yeah.
and unlocking the different attachments. I don't know exactly like how many attachments because this is all just from first-hand experience. I
Yeah.
only got to like maybe like in the
Mm.
20s on like the Um, FAMAS.
Okay.
FAMAS I liked the most. That
Hmm.
like it's a burst gun.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's like levels for gun. Like you use the gun and like the level of the gun gets you the attachments for the gun.
yeah,
Or okay.
and that kind of harkens back to like the normal style of like Modern Warfare.
Hmm.
And then they sort of changed it up. A lot of the Black Ops games changed it up completely, and they
Yeah.
did like the money system where you could like just buy them, and I
Oh
think it
yeah,
was like
yeah,
Black
yeah,
Ops One,
yeah.
and then Black Ops Two. I forget what Black Ops Two did. I think Black Ops Two was still the money system actually.
Probably just had to get loot boxes.
And thank God it wasn't loot box time yet for AAA games. I think it
Oh,
was next gen, right? Black
I know.
Ops,
I'm just saying.
Black Ops 3. Yeah, Black Ops 3 was like
Oh yeah.
oh wait, no, it was Advanced Warfare. No, not
No,
was it?
Infinite
Yeah,
Warfare. I know definitely Infinite Warfare.
Infinite Warfare definitely, but I think Advanced Warfare was the very first loot box
Hmm.
game title. I do remember that now,
Okay.
and in fact, some of them were stronger weapons too, like weapons with
Mm.
like specific attachments. Because I remember getting like a
Yeah,
cool
yeah,
one.
I remember.
So that was the first. That was the first of all the Call of
Mm.
Duties to have like loot boxes with pay to win elements.
Yeah, that's like I guess there's a concern with this game too now that in like the beta they don't have any loot boxes and there's no
Right.
signs of it, and like I see like reviews, it's like just keep the beta like this.
Yeah.
Basically, don't change
just
anything,
you
don't
just
screw it up.
release the beta as its own
Right.
game, and we'll enjoy it.
So like there's definitely like caution with this game where like they might pull the same thing they did on was Black Ops 4 where they come out it comes out and there's no loot boxes, then the review cycle happens and then there's loot boxes so nobody even says anything except for
Hmm.
all the gamers that know it.
Yeah, I mean, it's Activision, so there's definitely going to be loot boxes, and there's definitely going to be pay to win aspects because they've
Okay.
yet to be punished
Hmm.
for doing these things.
Right.
They've made like record sales in like Call of Duty 4.
Yeah.
Like the last quarter of last year
Hmm.
was one of the best ever for them apparently, and they also like laid off the 200 something workers at the same
Wow.
time, which is pretty funny when you're like making record sales and then laying off workers.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
the stock cut in half last
Really.
year towards the end of the year,
Yeah.
right around when all those people got let go,
Yeah.
which is very odd. But either way, uh, they're definitely going to add stuff because there's no reason for them not to yet. But
Yeah.
I think that that's not like even the biggest thing people are upset about.
Okay.
Another thing that they're doing is they're actually hiding the survival mode behind an exclusivity wall.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we already know they're doing loot boxes, but that's technically only a rumor. But this is
Hmm.
something that they've like announced, and
Yeah.
people are really upset about
Yeah.
it.
So it's only on PlayStation. They're gonna have the Spec Ops Survival mode
Yeah,
for 1 year.
yeah, one
Okay.
year. And like some people are saying that it might have to do with crossplay, because
Okay.
apparently
Sony.
Activision signed a deal
Hmm.
with Sony in 2015.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so they have to like get something out of the deal, I guess. So it's like there's got to be some incentive for
But
people to go to PlayStation, and I bet you like Activision and Sony
the-
like talked it out, and they were like, "Fine, I guess we'll give you like survival." Like
right.
it's like the worst thing that we can think of giving you
Yeah.
that people might still care a little bit about.
I mean, couldn't they just go to giving them like 1 week release ahead, like previous?
I mean, that
Like,
sounds like fine to me.
yeah,
I think people waiting a week, it's not that bad. Even waiting, let's
is it a
say
month?
a month, for map packs and DLC that come out
Right.
afterwards, like
Yeah.
that's something people can handle too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a year of no survival, like even if it is 1% of the game, a year, it might as well just not exist in the other two versions. Like it's essentially that the 2/3 of the people playing the game are getting 99% of a game.
Hmm.
It's not like in 3 months it'll come out and then it's like only 99% of the game for 1/4 of the year,
Yeah.
and most people who bought it at release are going to still be playing it. But last time I checked, I've never played a Call of Duty a year later.
Wait.
That's why a new Call of Duty
Right.
comes out in
Exactly.
a year.
Yeah. By the time it comes out, another Call of Duty is already gonna be out.
It's essentially that we're not getting it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think people start getting pissed off. It's like even if it was like a month or 2 months or
Yeah.
3 months, people would be okay with like up to 3 months. And then once you start getting further, it starts to
Mm,
hit that point where anybody who bought the game isn't
mm,
playing the game by the
mm.
time that the content is available. So it
Yeah.
might as well just not be in your game.
It's- I don't. Yeah. I just it makes sense on Sony's side because they've been such a bitch about like crossplay, even with like Fortnite when
Yeah.
they were trying to get that on PlayStation. That took forever.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think Spec Ops has just always been just there. Like even back in like MW2, it's just
It's
wherever.
definitely a bit of overblown reaction,
Oh, definitely.
given the content is such a small part of the
That
game.
like that's not why people buy this game. Not even close. Like even the campaign is not why people are buying this game. The very vast majority is going to be playing multiplayer, and we all know that.
Well, technically it is multiplayer because it's co-op, but yeah, I get what you mean.
Right.
I'm,
Like
yeah. But I think the thing is that if it was in the game, I'd play it. I'd probably play it with you. I'd probably play it
mm,
with our friend group. Um,
I mean, yeah, it's there. It's like let me be an achievement whore. Like let's go.
but even if it's not, maybe it's actually really cool and they've like
Yeah.
added new elements and it's maybe it's not like zombies mode. In fact, we don't even
Well,
know if they're gonna
I
have a
I
zombies mode.
heard that they were not having a zombie mode, but I heard
Okay,
that they're having battle royale as a DLC.
is it gonna
That
be free then?
I think they're planning on having, unless was there season passes already, like for pre-orders.
I have
I
not
think
looked
there
into their
was.
season pass.
I don't know if it's gonna be free DLC. I think maps we know they said they were gonna be free.
Okay, that's at
The
least
the map
one decent
DLC, but I
thing.
don't know about game mode. I gotta imagine. So, but like I've said before, regardless of if this game, if like battle royale is free for like if you bought this game, they should release it as a separate like optional like mode to buy instead of buying the full game.
I agree with that. And I think that this is a fascinating idea that these AAA companies seem to be unwilling to do, but it's called a game that's not $60.
Right.
Like, I guess the only game that did it was Overwatch with the
Yeah.
$40 game,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure that PUBG was $20
Yeah.
and that game sold fantastic.
Oh yeah.
And
Well.
it doesn't need to be a $60 game.
mm,
It's just the price has to reflect the content.
mm,
So if they wanted to put a battle royale out there for $20,
Yeah.
I don't think people would be upset about it. I don't think people would be annoyed because as long as if I pay $20, I'm getting $20 worth of content.
Yeah.
I feel happy.
Yeah.
I'm not getting the full game,
Right.
but that's a reasonable price. It allows people a lower barrier of entry, but Activision doesn't really believe in that.
Yeah. Well, I think they even with like Spec Ops and like whole like oh it's $60 worth of a game like oh we're gonna make this stuff and then like oh let's put some other stuff like to finish off the $60 worth of a game because like we could have had like multiplayer be worth $40 and whatever and then like
Hmm.
single players on worth whatever and like they just piece it together like okay yeah that's worth it.
Yeah, it's weird how there's this obsession with the $60 price tag. And I think like especially with Activision, we saw in their last game with their season pass, they
Mm,
made this like thing where you had to buy the whole entire pass for all of the maps and you
yeah,
couldn't even buy the maps
like separately,
individually in the
yeah,
packs.
yeah,
You either had to pay for all of the maps or none of the maps.
mm,
And I think that if they believed that like strategy in Call of Duty Black Ops 4, then that same strategy is going to apply here,
yeah,
where it's like we could sell the battle royale separately for $20,
yeah,
but we don't want somebody buying it for $20. We want somebody buying it for $60.
true,
So we're going to put it into the main $60 package, and even if you don't play anything but the battle royale, we're still going to get you for $60.
yeah,
The question is there going to be enough people who are going to spend $60 on the game just for battle royale? And each person who does that is actually contributing to the problem and is stopping them from separating them and allowing us to play them separately.
yeah,
Because you're feeding into their con
mm,
of like, oh, you're buying a $60 game for $20 worth of content because it's so vast and there's so many
mm.
different things to do. Um,
I don't know. I imagine if it was like oh, you can either pay $20 to get this, or you pay like more money to get more content. Like if you really think it's worth it, you might just go for the more money. But I don't know. It's
right, exactly. You would go for the more like
mhm,
the whole thing if you thought it was more money,
yeah,
or
worth
sorry,
the money.
more worth the money. Um, but that means that you should buy the $60 game. But if
Yeah.
when it's separate and you have no interest in the
Mm.
multiplayer and you only want to play the battle royale, I think that giving people the option would be a very pro consumer
Mm.
move.
Yeah.
And I think in our like climate right now, the video game like industry climate, the act of being consumer friendly goes much further than it did a few years ago.
Yeah.
So if they were to do that, like they would get so much press coverage. People on Twitter would talk about it. Everybody would be like, "Hey, now we can get the battle royale." Um, of course they couldn't make it free though,
No.
because that would be a disservice to people who paid $60 for the game, because they don't even get a storyline anymore. They get like that means they would
What do you
basically
mean?
be getting half of a game as well.
Okay.
But I personally still like the free to play battle royale model
Well, what if
better.
what if it was like paid DLC and then they also sold it as a game mode?
So you mean like even people who pay $6 have to spend the money to
Maybe
play
it's less money,
still like $20? Or you mean like even
like
less, like 10?
$10. I don't know. Yeah.
Dude, a map pack in like Modern
I
Warfare
know.
2 was
I know.
$20.
I know.
Activision ain't got any fucking
Yeah, they're
any
not going less
chance to
than
do that.
$20. Well, that's when they come out with like Battle Royale is like $40, and then if you
Mhm.
have the game, then it's $20, and then have a good day.
Honestly, with the new model that they're doing, I would say like half of the game is the multiplayer and the other half of the game is the battle royale.
Yeah.
So I guess like 30-30 would
Mm.
make sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think people would be somewhat okay. Not really actually, because the average cost of a battle royale and nothing else is like
Nothing.
$30 at most.
Yeah.
So if they were to do like $40 for the battle royale, but you get it by itself and not the rest of the game, then like at least
Mm.
then they're like earning money
Yeah.
above their half of the game, so that
Yeah.
they're like getting extra
Well,
profits. But people would definitely also be upset about that.
yeah, I don't think that would be a good idea. I mean, at that point, oh, they'll only do it to get you buy the game. Be like, oh, it's $40 for this, or you can spend $20 more and get the multiplayer. Like
Hmm.
that'll be the only marketing strategy that would work
Yeah.
for them.
That's always such a weird marketing strategy to me. It always reminds me of like the whole like tiered system where it's like,
Yeah.
pro tier and then, normal
Hmm.
standard tier.
Yeah.
And the idea is that like the pro tier is too expensive
Mm.
and doesn't give you that much value,
Yeah.
so that the standard tier looks
Like a deal.
like a huge deal.
Mm.
So it's actually like fake.
Well, like I mean, I think there's two ways to it. I think it's they like make it more expensive and give you more things. So like you think that you're like it looks like you're getting like double amount for like not double the price.
Yeah.
I
I
think
guess
that's
like
doing
because
that.
it's
That
like
could be two different
$40
ways.
for this and then only 20 extra bucks.
Right.
Hmm.
So if that like in that situation,
Um, but it really, honestly, it's really just gonna come down on
yeah.
Activision. Like,
I
what are they gonna do?
I hope though like with this cross-platform like play, I hope this is like a beginning of like in this franchise at least having cross-platform in the future,
Hmm.
and then like branching out to other games having cross-platform because
Cross-platform is
yeah,
fantastic.
exactly. It should just become industry standard, honestly.
I feel like it is, and it's earning more money for developers,
Mm,
but it's the distributors,
mm,
like these well, I guess the distributors I guess it is because they're digital distributors. Like Microsoft is selling it on the
mm.
Microsoft store,
Yeah,
Sony is selling it
Sony.
on the Sony
Hmm.
store, Steam sells it on their store.
Yeah.
So these digital distributors, they want their bigger cut of the pie,
Mm,
and the market, it's not as important which console you play it on when there's crossplay.
mm.
It's like suddenly the whole friends argument gets thrown out.
Right, and actually more people might actually buy it than like not because now it's like, oh, I wasn't gonna buy it because the people that I know that would play it aren't on my platform.
Yeah.
So now like they have it, all right, I'll buy it and I'll play with them. Now you're like adding like an at least one extra person to like not every purchase, but like a group of purchase.
Yeah, and I remember growing up, like that would be the main reason I chose the console I
Yeah,
did
or
was
games even.
yeah, it's just are my friends playing it? Are they on this console? And crossplay is kind of deleting that idea completely from the industry. Where now I can play from
Mm,
PC to my friend on Xbox, and it's not really about this like who
yeah.
has the existing customers thing. Because
Mm,
like the idea before was that when these new consoles came out, if you got the higher percentage of initial purchasers, you would continue to get additional ones at a higher rate,
mm,
right? So like if 10 of your friends buy consoles, 60% of them get the PlayStation at launch and
mm,
40% of them get the Xbox at launch. Well, now you're going to get the PlayStation because 60% of your friends have the
mm,
PlayStation. You can play with more friends. And now when your next friend decides he wants to buy one, he's going to look at it and go, "Okay, well now, 7 of my friends are
mm.
on PlayStation and 4 of my friends are on Xbox. I'm going to obviously go with um PlayStation."
PlayStation.
So there's like this reoccurringness to those initial sales almost.
Yeah.
And that's like completely gone now. And I think like Sony, who really reaped the benefits of this last generation, having sold so much better at launch,
Mm,
they're trying to, I guess, to hold on to what they
yeah.
can, and
Yeah.
they're kind of grasping for straws, and they're making themselves look kind of like a douche.
Yeah. And I think the only thing moving forward for these like consoles is to make them just so much better than the other one, like performance wise,
Hmm.
so that like
Well,
it comes close to like PC with, so you can like compete with certain games on PC. Like I know like you can use your mouse right in
yeah.
COD on the consoles to play if you're playing with other people on PC that are using mouse and keyboard, but just the performance of the console needs to be like some rigs of computers that are so high, I think.
Um.
Or just like with each other. Now you're gonna, if you can play with your buddy and it doesn't matter which console, like,
Mhm.
and you're getting more bang for your buck, basically, you're gonna go with that versus like who has what. Now it actually comes down to what's inside the console.
So I kind of feel like I disagree with you slightly.
Okay.
So I think that all games are developed for the lowest common denominator,
Okay.
right? So there's so many people on each platform that whoever has the worst specs is the is the
I mean,
specs that the game is going to be developed around. So like even if one of the consoles was significantly weaker than the rest, like let's say
hmm,
PlayStation fell behind and Xbox's next console was just insanely powerful and they somehow managed to keep the prices low. Um First off, they wouldn't be able to keep the prices low.
hmm,
Therefore, they would have a higher priced console than their competitor Sony with their next gen if they had
hmm,
weaker specs. And therefore the PlayStation become more like the budget
okay.
console of the generation,
Yeah.
and then games would still have to be developed for the PlayStation as the minimum product or like the minimum
Yeah, but you still have to
standard.
like make it for each platforms. Not like the same thing with just different specs.
Right, but in general, a computer like PCs have generally better specs,
Yes.
and therefore they can run like significantly better looking graphics.
Hmm.
So what I'm saying is that no matter what, even though a game can be run at a higher graphical fidelity, the whole like 30 FPS, 1080p, like that has to still work on the lowest common
Hmm.
denominator. So it doesn't really matter if specs. I think like the specs of the consoles, not obviously including like the Switch or something,
Hmm. Yeah.
but like really it's just PlayStation and
Xbox.
Xbox.
Whatever.
And then Stadia is really just PCs that stream, and so is
Yeah.
the Microsoft xCloud.
Hmm.
So it really is just PlayStation and Xbox. They actually have to stay equal with each other because if they have to both have the same level of specs on their lowest versions, or else like PlayStation, like I said, becomes the budget version and Xbox becomes like the
Or I
luxury
mean, like
version.
you just stay price competitive while being better bang for your buck.
Well, most consoles are already sold at a slight loss
Yeah.
so that they make up money in their
$60 games.
yeah, exactly. So they could sell it at more of a loss, but honestly, where I think that the innovation will occur is less in specs and more in service.
Okay.
So, one example that's already happening is like Microsoft Games, what's it called again? Games Pass? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a service that
Mhm.
Xbox is providing you. For only $10 a month, you can have every single one of their games.
Mhm.
And because that is such a good value, in fact, people have actually said that the Xbox Games Pass is essentially the highest value for a package of games than anything else in like the
Mm.
gaming industry.
Wow.
Maybe like the next would be like EA's Origin Access.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't even just get like Microsoft games, you get other games too. You get indie games, you get a ton of stuff. So if you like compare the value of everything you get versus what you're spending, it's very much in your favor. So that's like one example. UI,
Mm.
UX,
Yeah.
right? Features of the consoles. So like in the last generation, Xbox made it so you can like plug it in and use it as your TV
Mm.
cable box essentially. So you only need to have like one HDMI
Mm.
instead of having like to have to switch between
Yeah.
the HDMIs. So like features
Mm.
like that. And then also like bundles, deals on games and
Yeah.
like things that are very pro consumer in the forms of like, making it so that your console is just the more enjoyable
True.
experience.
Alright.
I think
Very
that's
nice.
where all the innovation is going to turn.
Mm.
And it kind of reminds me of our conversation when we talked about Netflix and
Mm.
the whole like exclusivity problem and how they essentially, because of the fact that they're competing over exclusivity rights of these different IPs and then their own exclusive content, that they're actually not focusing at all on user experience.
Mm.
And that's why there's like the autoplay and
Mm.
the fact that it takes forever to find a movie
Yeah.
on Netflix and picking things out, and that it's kind of overwhelming and you have to own like 6 different subscriptions and you have to navigate between each one of them, and it feels so uncomfortable
Yeah.
like comparatively.
Yeah, I can definitely see with like the service, like the packages, like that becoming way more prominent. It already is. But like even
Mhm.
like Sony, they kind of they've had theirs for a while. Where like you
What is
pay, I
theirs?
forgot what it's called, but you pay and you have access to like games on like a bunch of games like Sony games
Mhm.
on theirs.
I don't know. I think the difference is that I know that Microsoft releases every brand new game for
Mm.
free if you have it.
Okay, I mean
And
I
I,
don't
I
know.
don't know about
I mean,
Sony, but I know that like EA's, for example, if you're
mm,
not like on the premium version, which is
mm,
like $15 a month,
yeah.
you don't get those.
Okay.
I
Well,
don't
I
know
mean,
about
it could
Sony's though.
be. I mean, I feel like they would just have to improve it, like in like the future at that point.
Yeah, but apparently they think they can get away with like exclusivity shit still. Like
Yeah.
I'm totally for them making their own games and being exclusive, but even Microsoft is like, why are we doing this
Mm,
again? We could just like make a fuck ton of money selling it on Windows too.
mm,
And it's like we get money from people buying laptops.
yeah.
So like let's just go ahead and do that from now on.
Hmm.
And they're even letting you buy Halo, the next Halo on Steam. You don't even need to get it
Yeah.
on the Microsoft
I think
store.
Gears of War was the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so cool. I can fucking buy Microsoft games on Steam.
Yeah.
They're not pulling an Epic. They're doing the
Nice.
exact opposite of an Epic. They're
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, do what you want. Play where you want. Make sure that your experience is the one that you want to have. And we'll do our best to get you to come to us. We'll give you perks. We'll give you the Games Pass. Because if you have the Games Pass, you have to get it on the Microsoft store,
Mm,
right? So we'll give you incentives to come to us. But play where you want. You are open, you're free to make your own decisions, and we don't want to like choke the market like
yeah.
Epic.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but I think that's
Yeah.
pretty much all the news.
Yeah. Uh.
I would just say like it's a really fun game.
Okay.
Everyone enjoyed the beta,
Yeah, they want to say the same.
and it's really just going to come down to whether or not Activision shits all over their own game.
Yeah. I don't know if we have to wait that long though. That's the problem.
Yeah,
We'll
they
see.
they're like announcing thing by thing, and it's like already starting to
Back up
like
against them.
I almost feel like they should just stop announcing things and just be like, hey guys, the beta, like that's the full game. Like we'll just give you more maps, more guns, and just like give you
Hmm.
stuff. And oh, here's like a battle royale. Like we're not gonna even talk about any of it. Um, then again, actually, we want them to like screw themselves so
Yes,
that they
because we
learn.
know. Yeah, so we know if there's anything that we don't want in there.
It's definitely a Call of Duty I actually want to purchase though. Whereas like Call of Duty 4, Black Ops 4, I
Hmm.
didn't actually have
Yeah,
really
this is like
interest
the
in.
first one in a while I'm even considering purchasing.
Hmm.
If if I think I'll probably have to wait out a bit to see about how they act with if they wait out the review cycle again, or if how even just like release if it's any different, or if it's like way different
Hmm.
than the beta was.
I think even if they do it the way that they did it in the last game, they're still not going to get flack for it
True.
because with Battlefront 2, it was not just in the game at launch; it was in the pre-release
Yeah.
launch. Like they removed loot boxes in the game before the game released. It was 3 days before the game released for full because it was 10 days early access on EA Origin.
Yeah.
So if you were paying the $5 a month, you get like the 10 hours
Mm,
of playtime for free on any of their new games.
yeah.
But you also get 10 days early access. So they got destroyed before it even released. Whereas Call of Duty, it's going to release, people are going to play it. 80% of the people who played it are going to stop playing it. The hardcore players who were going to spend money on the game anyway are going to stay. Small things are going to be added slowly over time, and it's not going to be for another 6 months to a year to 2 years before people get fed up again.
Yeah.
And then by that point, like no one's even going to cover it on uh you know news,
Yeah.
gaming
Game
news,
news. Yeah.
like YouTube
Mm,
videos and publications and stuff like that. It's just not going to be news anymore because it's going
yeah.
to be a game from last year.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. But I'm not hopeful because of Activision, and I'm hoping that we as the consumers do something about it if they're going to screw
Mm,
us again.
okay.
But let us know what you guys think. You guys hyped? Do you think they're going to fuck us? Let us know in the comments below.
As always, thank you for listening and following.
Check us out every Thursday on YouTube, Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are available.
You can find us on Instagram at Unstoppable Force Podcast and Twitter at UForcePod for news and updates.
We'll see you guys next week, and
And
until
until then,
then, stay
stay
unstoppable.
unstoppable.